Death, the process by which all living things cease to exist. Nothing in human history has been so poorly understood, yet so widely dreaded. Studies have suggested that 68% of the US population is scared of dying. That's over 200 million people that have no idea what happens after death, but still choose to live their lives in fear. They're scared of leaving their loved ones behind, of not living the life they want, of being left in the ground for eternity. But are any of these fears rational? More specifically, should death be feared? According to some of the wisest men to walk the earth, no, death should not be feared. This is because death causes no pain, because it may be better than life, and because it's a natural part of the human life cycle. Death should not be feared because death causes no pain. This argument was made by early Greek philosopher Epicurus. In a letter, he said, "Death is nothing to us, seeing that when we are, death is not come, and when death is come, we are not." This forms the foundation of his no subject of harm argument. Essentially, Epicurus argued that death is annihilation, meaning that death happens when particles collide and disappear, releasing energy. So if death is annihilation, and someone that's alive hasn't been annihilated, then someone that's alive cannot be hurt by death. But what about a dead person? Surely whatever pain death causes would be bad for them. No, and the reason why is pretty simple. For someone to experience the senses of good and bad, they must exist. Since a dead person has been annihilated, and therefore does not exist, a dead person cannot feel that anything is good or bad. To help you better understand the Epicurean philosophy of death, let's look at a scenario. Recently, you've noticed that urban climbing videos have surged in popularity. Every time you go online, the first thing you see is a daredevil scaling towers, construction cranes, stadiums. After examining your life, thinking about your accomplishments, your goals, and your ambitions, you decide that you were destined for internet fame. But of course, you have to take baby steps. Your first crack at going viral can't be climbing the Empire State Building. The community center near your house is pretty tall, and it has a pool you could jump into as a grand finale for the video. Strapped with your GoPro, you get to the roof. Against your better judgment, you jump, but you underestimated the jump, and halfway down you realize you're not going to make it. You wake up in a hospital room, with casts around both of your legs. The doctor tells you, miraculously, that you'll recover in 6 months' time. Now think about it. Your legs weren't broken before you jumped, and they won't be broken once you've recovered. The only time they're broken is during those 6 months. In the same way, death can't hurt you while you're alive, and it can't hurt you when you're dead. The only time it may hurt is during the dying process itself, which by many accounts has been described as a peaceful transition. In essence, if death causes you no pain when you're dead, it's foolish to allow the fear of it to cause you pain now. Death should not be feared because it very well may be better than life. This idea was proposed by one of the founders of Western philosophy, and one of the most influential thinkers in human history, Socrates. Although the people of Athens were deeply religious, Socrates taught that good and bad are not dictated by the gods, but rather by a person's own moral standards. As a result, he was charged with being impious and corrupting the youth. At his trial, he's brought before a jury and given the chance to plead his case. In the end, he's found guilty. Both he and his accusers are allowed to suggest a punishment. His accusers propose death, but Socrates says that he should be rewarded instead with free meals at a dining hall reserved only for Athens' most important people. Ultimately, he's given the death sentence. Before he's taken to a prison cell to await execution, Socrates tells the crowd his philosophy on death. He says that death is one of two things. Either A, it's a dreamless sleep, or B, it's the passage to another realm, an afterlife of sorts. In both cases, he'd be happy to die. If death is a dreamless sleep, he says he could use the rest. If it's a passage to another life, then he'll finally be able to meet the dead people he admires, and he'll have all of eternity to speak with them. People who have a phobia of death have allowed their minds to be clouded by a fear of the unknown, never stopping to consider that maybe death isn't as bad as it sounds. If there is no afterlife and they're left in the ground to rot, at least they finally escape the harsh realities of life. Meanwhile, if there is an afterlife, they'll have the opportunity to meet their beloved dead relatives or historic figures whom they admire, an opportunity that a living person would never have. As he's escorted to his prison cell, Socrates tells the jury, "But now it is time to go away. I to die and you to live. Which of us goes to a better thing is unclear to everyone except to the god." death should not be feared because it's a natural part of the human life cycle. Argued by Chinese philosopher Zhuangzi, this belief became a central ideology of Taoism. Zhuangzi said that life is a cycle and that death is just one part of that cycle. To wish for immortality because of a fear of death would be illogical, as it would be defying the cyclical nature of life. As humanity has accepted flowers blooming and the sun rising as natural processes, so should it accept the process of dying. Zhuangzi's beliefs were on full display when his wife died. A friend arrives at Zhuangzi's house to offer his condolences, but to his surprise finds the Chinese philosopher sitting on the ground, drumming on a bowl and singing a joyful song. When he's questioned over his apparent lack of sadness for his wife's death, Zhuangzi says that he felt extreme grief at first, but realized that mourning for too long would be pointless. "But I looked into her beginnings," he said, "and originally she had no life. Not only no life, but no body. Not only no body, but no chi. Amidst the mysterious chaos, something changed and she had chi. The chi changed and she had a body. Her body changed and she had life. Now there's been another change and she has died. These changes are to each other as the procession of the four seasons, spring and autumn, winter and summer." He saw life as a series of transformations. Every major milestone, from being born to taking your first steps to graduating high school to having a child, is just another transformation. By viewing death as one transformation in a life filled with thousands, it no longer seems that remarkable. What's more, Zhuangzi argued that because life and death are two parts of a whole, one who values their life should equally value their death. It's like immersing yourself in a really good movie. Every movie has a start, an end, and a story in between. Now you could love the start and the story like your firstborn child, but that wouldn't be a reason to delay getting to the end. You'd be missing out on an integral part of the film. In the same way, the human experience consists of a birth, a death, and the life in between. Of course, you should cherish your birth and your life, but it wouldn't be natural to fear your death. Rather, you have to learn to embrace your death. After all, that would be the only way to see how the movie ends and what happens after the credits roll. In conclusion, death should not be feared. This is because death causes no pain, because it may be better than life, and because it's a natural part of the human life cycle. Famed Renaissance painter Leonardo da Vinci said, "As a day well spent brings happy sleep, so a life well spent brings happy death." Living in constant fear will not postpone death. Only when it's accepted as inevitable can one live a happy life.